I could create the resources to really live out what I felt my life purpose was, on a little different kind of an arrangement than somebody else dictating that for me.
Right.
And so when I went full time in the network marketing world 25 plus years ago, people often would ask, well, why would you leave ministry to go into business? And I've always said, still say today, I didn't leave it. I just changed the way I get paid to do it.
Exactly.
And so I can sort of do it when and where we feel it fits within our priority time-wise and budgets and so forth. I just don't have to go to staff meetings anymore. And I can participate as much as I want in the kinds of things that I really enjoyed about that part of my life. I still do some of those things. I'm on the board of a missions organization. We do missionary retreats for missionaries all over the world. And, Rebecca's a nurse. She came at this from a perspective of a health professional. And I think for both of us, whatever we did in our professions was more than a calling than just a job. I know you felt that way about your nursing career as well. So for her now to be in this full time with me is just another step up, we feel, in living the same sort of purpose we've always had. This has just given us a platform to do that on a little different scale, incorporated into this a great product, which is an absolute breakthrough, not like anything else on the market, and it happens to be brought to the market in a way that creates a great opportunity. So we've been, our introduction to Asea, just to kind of touch on that,
yeah, please,
happened just a little over 10 years ago, and I would like to tell you that I was visionary enough to get it at that time, but I really wasn't. Rebecca and I had only been married about 6 months. And I said to her, I said, you're a nurse, you're a really good researcher. You're a good judge of character. I've always got a joke that she's had a really good BS detector, that somehow I got through all of that. And so we've been married 6 months. I said, listen, these are great friends of mine who called me about this company. Could you go check this out? And kind of
had Rebecca ever done this business model before?
No.
Never? Have you? So you had no good, bad, ugly, indifferent about it?
None.
Okay. So you were asked then to go fly out to...
Yeah, so she did. She thankfully had enough blind faith to get on a flight in January of 2010, flew to Salt Lake City, and came back and said, well, I met the founders and the scientists. And, she comes from... I got to say this, North Carolina folks can probably, no offense to Texas or wherever else.
We're the smartest.
Well,
my granddad went to Duke. I think I shared that with
you. There you go. Yeah. So, Duke is part of that research triangle where there are more PhDs per capita. It really is an absolute global epicenter of medical research and scientific research. So, she kind of has that running through her veins. And so when she came back and said, I've met the scientists, I met the doctors, I asked questions, and I signed this up. So that was my news, that we had registered. I wish it had registered with me, but it just didn't. I was coming off of a pretty tough chapter where my first wife had passed away after a long illness. I'd met Rebecca. We'd been married. I was contemplating moving out to the East Coast. So it was just a time of transition. I'd been in network marketing, but that had been sort of on the back burner. And I guess, to use the analogy, a sports analogy, I was not on the playing field anymore. I was either in the bleachers or in the locker room, the trainer's room, maybe.
Now, were you
I was contemplating. What's that?
I was gonna say, were you looking for anything else, or?
No, I knew that I would get back in the arena again, and I knew it was probably not going to be with the company that I'd been with for 15 years or so at that time. But I just, I was kind of done with products. I didn't want to do products anymore. There are so many other things that this business model brings to the marketplace. You name it. Gosh, insurance, travel, telecommunications. I mean, just, I just didn't want to do products anymore. And I can remember telling Chuck and Tammy and Denny would call, and I'd say, yeah, I just don't want to do products anymore. So I went off. I looked for other things. I mean, I went to fly-ins. I sat in boardrooms. I met with founders of companies. I met with top field leaders. I attended events. People would send me products and say, here's our product. And I would take it to Rebecca and I'd say, hey, drink this juice. Try this skin cream. Take these vitamins. And she would kind of give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, usually a thumbs down. And but she was giving me an honest evaluation. So I finally did connect with another company that I thought was really going to be my next thing, and that was going okay for a while, and then it began to hit some tough skids. And anyway, circumstances for us changed that caused me to really sit back and realize. And I kept an eye on Asea from a distance. You know, I knew that they were. I initially resisted it because I thought new companies, startups in this industry don't last, and they typically don't have their second birthday. And I thought I'm not going to spend a lot of time on you know, a company that may not be around.
Right.
And so when they had their second birthday and their third and their fourth, I thought, you know, something must be legit.
Now, were you taking the products at
No,
all?
no. Well, you know, we got some initially, but I didn't pay any attention. I didn't try to. First of all, I'm not a doc. I'm not a science guy. She's really wears that, but she was busy with her job.
Okay,
And as the income from my networking side was waning, we were depending more and more on what she was doing, which created stress. And I didn't get it regarding the product. Gosh, I like most people, kind of tasted it and turned my nose up. And so I was mixing it with fruit juice and everything else, trying to make it palatable. And I just finally I thought I didn't pay any more attention to it.
Wow.
So no, I wasn't being a good product user at all.
Now,
But circumstances changed about 4.5 years into that, and I realized this was a real deal. And
what
this
changed?
company, what's that?
What was it that changed? I mean, what got you?
Well, okay, I'll give you specifics. You asked. I engaged with another company that was beginning to the income was growing pretty consistently, growing well. My old company realized that I was doing that, and they yanked the rug out from underneath me. In fact, it's like an anniversary. April Fool's Day is an anniversary for us because it's kind of a bittersweet anniversary. That's the day that FedEx came to my door and hand delivered a termination letter from my old company that you are terminated. And I mean, it was like cut the water off immediately.
So you were still getting paid from that.
I was still getting paid. I had a we'd been successful. I had built a pretty significant business, and they were changing the comp plan. Their management had changed, their culture had changed, and it was no longer the company that I knew that I was going to engage with. So I was quietly looking, and when they found out I was looking, they said, "Nope, you're out of here. Cut me off." And so the company that I did engage with began to grow, and I thought, okay, well, this is good timing. And then it hit some skids, and it began to kind of tank, and so circumstances became a little stressful. And actually, Rebecca had to attend a class for her nursing job in Texas. And I could go along. I went along because I knew people there. And so my friend that I knew there pastors a church outside of San Antonio. And he says, "Hey, can you speak for us on Sundays?" I said, "Sure." And so I'm preparing my thoughts on a Saturday. And my theme was the whole law of the harvest, planting and reaping, and planting good seed and preparing for a harvest and believing for a big harvest, being a good steward of the opportunity to have a harvest and all of that. And I mean, I don't just casually say God spoke to me, but I'm going to tell you on that Saturday, God spoke to me. And here was the message that I got. You're seeking a harvest here, there, everywhere. And the truth is, I've given you the seeds to a great harvest and you've been negligent. Why should I give you more when you're not taking care of what I've already given you? And man, I was chastised in my spirit, and I knew that was a prompting to make the phone call the next day or on Monday to my eventual sponsors, Chuck and Tammy Gates. So I called them up and I said, "Listen, what exactly is this? And what do I need to do?" And so that was kind of my come to Jesus meeting. So we looked at this to a different light, and I finally made the trip to Salt Lake City, and I met the founders, and I looked in their eyes, and I sensed their compassion, I sensed their sincerity, I sensed their culture. I really took a tour of the plant, and I realized, man, I have been negligent, and so that was my mandate to grab this opportunity and treat it like it deserved to be treated. And that was in August of 2014, and we've never looked back since. And
that's why you take it so serious now, because
I've
always felt that in you, and I've always felt that you're you're just a different level above a lot of people as far as your professionalism and how you guys go about your business. And now I know why.
Well, I appreciate that, but I just think that, when opportunities come along that are rare, we become a steward of the knowledge that we're privileged to accumulate in life. And I believe in the principles of stewardship. You've got to take care of what you're allowed to get your hands on. And so we treat this as a mandate. We treat this as a serious responsibility. This has never been a hobby. Obviously, she had to fit it in and around her nursing career for a while. Thankfully, the last couple of years, she hasn't had to do that.
Right.
We don't treat this like a hobby. This is a serious business, and we've been privileged to be exposed to this at this juncture, and we're responsible for how we handle that.
Anne's got a question.
Yeah, Rebecca, redox signaling molecules. Had you, when you first heard that, or they explained it at the tour, what was your thought? I mean, because they didn't start teaching that until, the more recent years in medical school. So what was your thought regarding those molecules?
Now, can I have you do something real quick first? Rebecca, can you share how you present? We've got a bunch of new people on right now. We got quite a few people on. So can you just share in your words, and then we'll then answer Ian's question, but then I want to get the same thing from Ed. What is this? What are these molecules? What do they do? Why is it important?
I just really keep it real simple. Ed's
Okay.
the one that, believe it or not, me being the nurse, he's the one that gives all of the mitochondria talks and all of that.
Okay.
But what I simply say to people, I had someone today ask me, what is this? I said, this is a supplement that contains redox signaling molecules. Well, what are redox signaling molecules? They are the signals that your cells need to know how to operate more efficiently. And some people just accept that very simple explanation and run with it. Then, of course, you have some people that want to know, well, where do the redox signalings come from? If they're already in your body, what happens? Then you go on to explain how the cell powerhouse works and how it throws off reductants and oxidants. That sometimes is enough for people. Then it can go all the way the spectrum of real scientific people who want all kinds of research. And so I do not necessarily, I let them know up front, Asea is not going to spend the money to do all the research because it's already been done. I send them to pubmed.gov.
Yeah.
I ask them to put in redox signaling in the search bar and read until their heart's content. Now, if you decide to go to pubmed.gov, just know it's only important for you to read the abstract and the conclusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Processes of how they do this scientific research doesn't mean anything to me. I know it's been reviewed by peers who are much smarter than I am. And so the processes do not matter. It matters what they're trying to prove and what their conclusion is. And they can learn exactly how redox, not necessarily how they work, but more importantly, what they are important for, what they have been proven to help with. And my only question I had after, and I was going to correct Ed in his opening statement about I ask a lot of questions when I went to the fly-in because I didn't ask a single question. I went there with my radar up to follow my gut.
Yeah.
You were asking them, but just not vocally. I mean, you
Right,
had the questions.
right.
But
But I was watching and listening. And if you know me, that's what I do in every situation. I watch, I listen, I assess everything. And then I ask questions. And then I decide if I'm going to walk away or if I'm going to dive in. Everything in my life is like that. So I don't have to, I needed to know if what was in that product in that bottle were indeed redox signaling molecules.
Right.
So I did all my research about redox signaling on PubMed. And then I said, I get it. I get that. It makes perfect sense. It's important. It's what's going to keep us alive and healthier longer. But what I didn't know was if what was in that bottle was redox signaling molecules. And it was just a short time later before a laboratory, imagine, in Durham, North Carolina. We are the smartest, you know. And so when it was a laboratory out of Durham, North Carolina, that just validated it even more for me. And they said, we're going to let you know, we're going to study this, we're going to say it is or it is not. And they verified that what was in the bottle were indeed trillions of redox signaling molecules stabilized. So that's when the point that I was all in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is
Not
that
Not at
Dr.
the point I
Neiman?
signed up, and not at the point that he said, this is something we need to look at, and this is something we need to work. We need to build a business. But after that study came out, I was all in. And now, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even care what the study says because I've seen results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the results speak for themselves. I was a nurse for 25 years, had one amazing story. I hear them every week now.
Yeah.
Every week. So now I don't even go back to the research. I send other people back because I know that I have to meet them where they are. And I send them there, but it's not important for myself and my belief anymore. I've seen enough to know that this is enough. I just know that. So
Well,
We had
we'll
an
put this
event a while
straight
back.
down.
We had an event, and she was moderating a health professionals panel, and there were a couple of medical doctors and chiropractor and nurse, and she asked them, what's more important to you, research or results?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, and of course they all professionally had to sort of posture
yeah,
themselves.
it was actually a veterinarian researcher.
Yeah,
It was an anesthesiologist who was also a urologist and a pain management doc. And it was an internal medicine doctor, a podiatrist, and one
I
other.
don't remember, but
And all of them. He can tell you the story now.
So she asked the question, what's more important, research or results? So professionally, they had to sort of posture themselves behind how important research was. And then she said, well, isn't it interesting? Every single one of you, what turned your head toward this was the results that you saw, either personally or someone in your family. And they had to acknowledge that's the results that got their attention, and the research came later.
Sure.
One of the PhDs was at our event, and he said to me privately, he said, I think someday, the research might catch up to your product.
Wow.
So we know that, we just know experientially, nobody in our household, no experience is ever going to match what we've seen in our house. I know you want Rebecca to mention that briefly, but I think the line is so true. When you've had an experience, you're just never at the mercy of somebody with an argument.
Yeah.
So there are people out there who want to posture themselves as researchers. Many times they're really pseudo researchers.
Exactly.
And in their research, they'll go to Google, which is a search engine, not a research engine.
Right.
And our company's the product is not a drug. It's never going to be subject to the kinds of testing that has to be done if it was trying to be approved as a drug. It's not. And of course now, even maybe initially, I know the company's stepping up when it comes to some of the different studies that are being done. But you have to realize, if you're looking at this, you're looking at it now from the backdrop of nearly 10 years of track record. And this is in a marketing sense, this is a time frame in our history where reviews rule the marketplace. When you're going to book a cruise, go to a restaurant, book a hotel, buy something online, you look at reviews. What are people saying? And word of mouth is powerful for or against. And so if you decide as a company that you're going to bring a product to the market only relying on word of mouth, then you better have something that people are going to talk about in a positive light. We could never be a 10-year-old company with a product that doesn't deliver results when you rely on our business method to grow the company. Just couldn't happen.
Especially with what it's made from, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys.
When you realize that, salt and water are two pretty powerful ingredients, King David in the Old Testament said, we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
I'm pretty sure he didn't know the extent to the truth of that statement. Your body makes these molecules out of salt and water.
All right, go ahead. Share how you share it with someone.
Well, when I share it, I don't try to get too technical because I get over my head really easy. And I probably skipped school and went surfing the day we covered mitochondria in biology class. So I never even heard that word before Asea. So
I
that,
had not either.
that's just not where I'm coming from. But here's the gist of this. All we are is cells. That's all we are physically. We are a collection of cells, all different kinds of cells. That's all we are. And your cells are like little tiny cities. There's a bunch of stuff going on inside the cell. Power plant, transportation, communication, waste management, all that's taking place.
Yep.
And the power plant is cranking out energy that you have to have just to function, to think, to breathe, for your heart to beat, to walk around, to whatever. You're burning up energy every single minute you're alive. And so the power plant kicks off this energy, and that process creates these little molecules called reductants and oxidants. That's where redox comes from.
Yeah.
Scientific world had always kind of dismissed them as non-essential. They're kind of the byproduct of the exhaust of the engine, until discoveries in the late 90s identified them as the signaling molecules that help that cell coordinate its function with every other cell. It helps signal disease or damaged cells be replaced or be renewed. We can think about it easily with cell phone technology. We've all got some device like this. And if we get in an area, in a rural area where signaling environment is compromised, these powerful little devices with all kinds of capability can't do what they're designed to do. And the same is true in your body. If the signaling environment in your body is compromised just due to age, which is going to happen, or disease or stress, then your body doesn't have the ability to respond to the emergency that it may have, or build up the defensive fortifications where it needs to. And by supplementing, I got to see a bottle here somewhere, not always within close reach. So by supplementing your body's naturally diminishing supply of these molecules, the signaling environment is enhanced. So it goes from just being a couple of bars to full bars of signal. So when there is an emergency somewhere in your body, the fire truck can respond, the ambulance can respond. Or think about it, we live near a military base, or the largest base in the Army, Fort Bragg. I look at it like when you drink a little bit of those molecules, you're sending trillions of troops to Central Command. Central Command knows where you need them, and it dispatches them anywhere in your body that you need them. That's why the results we see are head to toe. I mean, literally head to toe. And your brain is smart. I mean, God made your body smart, knows what to do with these molecules. So just you don't have to understand it for it to work. I mean, you just don't.
The other thing,
I get around the scientists and they lose me at hello. I don't even try to go there. I can quote a little bit of stuff from them, but that's not my strength.
well, I have found probably the best thing to do is to show them that.
Yeah, well, that's one of hundreds of textbooks.
Sure.
Correct.
Dr. Richard Michael, many of you have heard of him. He now serves
he's
on the
phenomenal.
company's medical professional board. And I showed him that book when I first met him. Here's a guy, Duke educated. He's got a huge medical practice. He's got a staff of over 70. I mean, it's a big practice.
Yeah.
You'd never heard of this. Never heard of redox molecules until you heard it come out of my mouth. I mean, people don't expect to learn about breakthrough medical technology from a network marketer. They expect to hear about it at some prestigious conference or whatever. So he not only got that book, he's bought hundreds, probably thousands of dollars of textbooks. He told me, he says, I feel like I'm back in medical school.
Yeah.
And but what turned his head was what his grandson experienced.
Right.
His
He saw
grandson
his
literally
dad.
came back from death's door, and that's what got his attention. So the research is there for the people who are serious, but you know what? Most people don't need that kind of research. You just don't. Don't kid yourself into thinking that you're more sophisticated than you really are. I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but the product's going to do what it does, whether you understand it, whether you believe it. It's just going to do it.
Right.
It'll work.
I'd like to get both of y'all's feelings, and Rebecca, you first, on your original thought of the founder of this company. What was it like when you first met Virtus? What did your gut tell you about either Virtus and or Tyler if he was at that first meeting?
I already knew they were good, honest people. I knew that when I first met them. And it is true. I don't know if I call it a BS detector or not, but I usually have a pretty good discernment of people, and I knew that they were good people.
Well,
And that was important
yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
After what we had been through in the previous company, particularly, it was very important to me.
well, her nursing expertise is behavioral health. She's a psych nurse. So it's not, she's got some insight just into human nature.
Yeah.
I've been around a lot of executives, network marketing executives through the years. And, I've got a little bit of a sense of, I think, maybe discernment about people. And, I just sensed a real level of sincerity. I appreciated the fact that they didn't come from the network marketing background, that they had some expertise in management at a high level, at a much larger level than we even are currently. And I just sensed a real sincerity, wisdom. I appreciated the fact that had they been driven just about by how to make more money, they would have sold this technology and pocketed a lot of money. And they did not do that. That was meaningful to me. And I've I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of network marketing over all the years, and the real ugly. And it was a breath of fresh air to get around people who were competent, and they were articulate. They were humble, but yet very capable. And they seemed to have a real sense of making decisions based on what's best for the field, not just what's best for the shareholders or for themselves. And I was cautious because I'd been burned by leadership in this industry that didn't come from that perspective. And so I've been nothing but absolutely continually had my initial perception reinforced over the years. I've had a chance to spend time with them. I've been on humanitarian trips with our management. I've worked alongside them in digging a ditch and pouring concrete and hauling bricks in humbling circumstances. And I've just seen where their heart is. I remember when we had a hurricane come through here recently, one of the first calls I had was from our CEO. Wanted to know how we were doing, how any of our Asea family was doing. Was anybody impacted here? What could they do to help? I've seen them come through for other folks that have had crisis. They're just the kind of people that you feel confident rolling up your sleeve and going to work on behalf of what they've gifted us here. And maybe at some point when we get toward the end of the call here, I'll tell you a specific story that kind of puts Vertus's mandate to us in perspective.
Yeah.
You've been in this industry, there's a lot of people out there that may not care for it. Maybe things are changing now because of 9 million people hit the unemployment rolls in the last 2 weeks. People are looking for options. They need options, not only for their health, but also for their financial pocketbook.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people, guys, when they go, is it one of those things? And I know I love your response. There's one of your letters that I give out to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you address that, please?
Yeah. I was exposed to this concept. This really makes me sound old. 48 years ago. And, it was before the industry was legitimized. It was before rules were passed to govern the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Wild West. There were abuses, no question about it. But, every industry, until rules are drawn up to govern the way it has to operate, there's all kinds of things that happen in franchising. And I know a lot of people who were introduced to it. They had a brush with some obnoxious network marketer 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, and they'll carry that perception forward and apply it to where it is today. And I just say, you cannot make good, sound business decisions on information that is inaccurate to begin with and out of date. You don't make good decisions based on bad information. So regardless of what your perception might be or might have been based on from 20, 30 years ago, do yourself a favor and update yourself. Realize where this industry is today. Realize why smart business people, why the Warren Buffetts, why the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, why the Richard Bransons of the world espouse this business. It's good business. It's smart business. Some of the highest earning professionals in the world, maybe aside from athletes, are network marketers. This industry, uh, thousands of companies now that market this way, accounts for multi-billion dollars of revenue around the world. Everything in the world practically can be marketed this way, and it affords, obviously, people an opportunity. So it's not just about the product or the service, it's the opportunity, and people look for opportunity. So I just say, do yourself a favor and get current with where this industry is today. It's not what it was. Especially I live here in North America, in North Carolina, which was kind of the epicenter for, one of the biggest companies that a lot of people point to, good or bad, is the Amway Corporation. Now, I was involved with that company. I learned a lot, but I understand some of what historically went on with that. And I'm in North Carolina, where the biggest players in that company, the biggest players in network marketing, probably came out of North Carolina. I attended the memorial service of probably one of the most successful networkers in history about a year ago here in North Carolina, just because I wanted to pay out. He never met me. I never met him personally. I guess I'd seen him personally, but I just wanted to pay homage to a guy who was a groundbreaker and a pioneer for this in this industry. But I'm running into people here who their perception of network marketing is based on something that they saw 20, 30 years ago. It's just not current information. So this is an amazing time to be in this business. I think about the circumstances that we're all dealing with right now.
Right.
I had some measure of success in this business back in the age of fax machines and payphones.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. We didn't have the internet. Al Gore hadn't invented it yet. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't have access to that. And, but we had some success then. But truthfully, if we were going through what we're going through right now, I'd have been out of business because we didn't have the ability to communicate like we can now. Today, I feel bad. We look down at 4 floors from where we are here. We see business owners and shop owners who have
Gone.
they've taken the risk to set up a shop, stock it full of product. I see restaurants that we love to patronize. Some of these guys are not going to come back.
Yeah.
I feel bad for them, but you know what? Some people go through life. This is the mindset. For every silver lining, they're looking for the dark cloud. That's just the way they are. They're looking for the downside, the pessimistic side of everything. I look at clouds and I see silver linings. Now we have an ominous cloud, not only over this country, but over the whole globe right now. I can't begin to explain all the rationale, everything that goes into it, why it's here, but it's just here.
Right.
We are in an opportunity right now. There's an absolutely brilliant silver cloud to what we're experiencing, not only on our product side, which everybody right now is looking for something to enhance their immunity and to be healthier. I mean, they don't know that we exist. We have the answer to what they're looking for. They just don't know about it. A lot of business people, a lot of employees that don't own businesses are thinking today, man, I wish I had a backup plan. I wish I had a plan B. And to have a home-based plan B that doesn't skip a beat. Our company in North America had the 2 biggest weeks in our history, the first 2 weeks of March. We're seeing record numbers. So there's a huge silver cloud. I was on a phone call today, 3-way call. The guy just enrolled. Since we've been on this call tonight, I've seen the text message pop up. This guy just came aboard tonight, and he's realizing. We talked about this today, and he's realizing, man, this is an opportune time for this industry. And it really is. If you're looking at this today, if you're a guest looking at this, we appreciate your time. And if you're this far into the call, for hanging with us, we definitely appreciate that. Just know that this is a powerful plan B. It could be a plan A. For a lot of folks, for us, it's become plan A.
That's true.
For a lot of folks, it has been. It's even more than what typically we could have ever dreamed a plan A could be. But this is a huge opportunity that's designed to fit in the nooks and crannies of your already busy life. And if you're concerned about maybe the next crisis that would ever come along, the best thing you could do right now is drill your well before you need it. And if you're in this situation where you need this one, trust me, you can drill your well very quickly in this business. And so we have a huge silver cloud to be thankful for. We're very thankful. We
Yeah.
look around and we feel the pain and the plight of a lot of folks who are going through some real struggle right now. We have a message. We have hope in a bottle, in a big blue bottle.
Right. Thank God they did go network marketing, or none of us would know about it.
Exactly.
They could have went the other route.
Yeah.
Everybody should watch, if they haven't, the Genesis video.
You're talking about what the price of it might be. Can you imagine if in fact, the first time I heard Vertus tell the story about the Genesis sitting around a conference table at headquarters, I remember asking the question, what do you think would have happened if you'd have taken the check from Big Pharma?
Hmm.
And, he tells a story. It's a very emotional story to him. And he said, we're not sure. Well, we weren't willing to take the risk. Well, the risk being that this would get shelved and never see the light of day. And I'm thankful that they had a moral obligation to humanity to bring this product to the marketplace the way they did, because who knows if they had sold it. If this was a pharmaceutical company, I came back from overseas about 3 weeks ago, I guess, and I had a cold, and I was tested for the virus, didn't have it, but my doc wanted me to take an antibiotic for about 10 days, 10 tablets. Rebecca went to get it filled at the pharmacy, and the gal shows up and she says, "Do you have insurance?" And Rebecca said, "No, we don't." "Oh, hang on a second. Don't look at this," and covered up the label, and disappeared for about 30 seconds and brought it back, and didn't change the medication, didn't open up the envelope, just put a different label over it. So we ended up paying $11.22 for that prescription. Okay, 10 pills. I got in the car, she told me the story. I peeled the label back, and the label that was initially there was still there. The price on that label was $316 for 10 tablets. So
That's
I don't know where all that would have gone, but had we had insurance, that's what somebody would have collected. So I just say that to point out, if this product was in the hands of the pharmaceutical company, how much do you think it would cost for a bottle?
I've heard anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a bottle.
Yeah, who knows? But it would be a whole lot more than it is now, and we wouldn't have a chance to participate in the distribution of it. But because it's only $130 a bottle, a case, and it's marketed the way it is for 4 bottles, we get a chance to participate in it. And the truth is, this isn't the business side of this. You guys have been around this a lot. Yeah, there's people who've been in sales. You've been in sales. I've been somewhat, but our business ranks are populated by teachers, health professionals, people who aren't salespeople. There's a misperception sometimes about what sales is. Sales in this context, it's not convincing people to get something that they don't need just so you can make a buck. It's just sharing information. And if based on that information, people decide to buy, have you really sold them? Or you just give them information?
Exactly.
And they bought something. And if the structure is such that you get compensated for that, why not? And if you don't need the money, give it away. We have charitable things. We can direct you where to get rid of the money. We feel it would be impolite not to take it, so we take it.
Well, as an ex-stockbroker, I've seen a lot of good, bad, and the ugly in the publicly
I'm
traded
sure.
in the markets. And I will ask someone, well, pick any item in your home.
Yeah.
Where did you buy it? And did that company or the salesperson that sold it to you, did they make a commission, or did that company make a profit? And if they did, then why shouldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Rebecca, I think it's time for you to share I can't let you go without sharing your story. I'll tell you, it moved me to tears. That time, the Diamond Talk with you up on stage, that was so moving. That is still hands down one of my favorite talks ever. And it was a 5-minute chat. So if you don't mind, could you please share why Asea for Rebecca Wiens?
Well, actually, that talk that I did at Diamond Days is on YouTube, and it's under the Asea TED Talks with my name. So anybody can go back and listen to it. But I tell people that we just don't know how important prevention is. I started using the product, didn't have any health problems to speak of, creaking knees that somebody else had to mention they didn't have them anymore before I thought, oh, I don't either. Little bit of car sickness. Somebody else said I don't get car sick anymore. I was like, me either. But it was nothing that was an illness, so to speak. But 3 years after I began to use the product, I started seeing double. And I was diagnosed with what the radiologist called a giant bulge off an artery in my brain. And to put it in perspective, the artery is 3 millimeters, the size of a coffee straw, not a drinking straw, but a coffee straw. And it had bulged from the 3 millimeters to 22 millimeters at last scan, and it had not ruptured. I was at Duke Hospital within about 3.5 hours of diagnosis. I went in, I had a procedure, they repaired it. I left the hospital in 48 hours with no sequelae, no evident deficits. It felt like I'd been run over by a truck, but I was fine. And I tell people the day that I had that procedure, sometime during that day, I visited a place that I know why people don't want to come back. And quite frankly, have a hard time being sad when somebody leaves this earth. It's really hard for me. I try to be compassionate for the family. My mom says I'm cold. I'm not. No, Mom, I'm not cold. I just know what I know.
Yeah.
And so I have a really hard time, thinking the same way that I used to think. But that's neither here nor there. I also spent several weeks figuring out what was my purpose. And it was like one day it just came to me, just keep walking and talking. That's what you do. But I also started doing some research. Why did this not rupture? I asked my neurosurgeon, what are the statistics? He said, we have no idea. 50% of people are dead before it reaches that size, and we never know. The neurologist that I saw at Duke said, I've never seen one this big. There may be one somewhere, but I've never seen it. So I started doing some research. And the 3 variables first listed that determine rupture versus non-rupture are age, size, and location. I was 58 years old. That was not in my favor. The size, I just told you, was not in my favor. The location was not such that I could have a craniotomy and they could just fix it. They had to go in through my groin and deep into my brain to fix it. Don't know how they did it, don't want to know, but they did it. So the 4th variable that determines rupture versus non-rupture is the degree of inflammation already in the body.
Right.
Well, we already knew at that time that this product decreases inflammation. That had been well established. Thus, no car sickness anymore. Thus, no creaking knees anymore. That had been well established. 2.5 months later, we went to convention, and the new Tourette laboratory studies that had come out that show where 5 genetic pathways are affected in a positive way. And included in one of those pathways increases arterial elasticity. And I thought, wow, that's another big piece of my survival. And I know that it increases arterial elasticity anymore. Yes, I'm glad they did the research. Yes, I'm glad they know it. But I also know that at my age, there should be some plaque buildup. Well, my vessels get checked from groin to head, and they're clear. Why? Because if your arteries have the elasticity that they need, they're able to contract and expand appropriately and keep themselves cleaned out. So I know that using this product for 3 years prevented what I was facing. Now, why did I have that problem? My doctor said possibly a birth defect or an injury. I had a bad bicycle accident in 2009. I suspect that's when it happened.
Oh.
But I survived it because I had done some things to take care of my own health in advance. And I tell people all the time, if they're facing a crisis, something that's going to require medical intervention, thank God for the medical intervention, but do what you can to prepare yourself, even for the anesthesia, even for the recovery, even for the sleep that you're going to need to help you to have optimal health through that. go ahead and get started, and may you never know what you prevent.
I love that statement.
Yeah, I do too.
I always like that statement. Were you on 8 ounces at the time this happened, or?
I was just taking 2 in the morning and 2 at night.
Okay.
Now, I will say that 3 months after the procedure, I was having some really bad brain fog, which, brain anesthesia is very deep and very hard and probably very toxic. And so I did 10 days and I drank 16 ounces a day for 10 days. And the first 7, I slept and slept and slept. Well, some people would see that as a negative effect. Absolutely, I did not. I knew it's what my body needed. I was willing to do it. I had the privilege of being able to sleep. But after 7 days, I woke up and the brain fog lifted and it's never returned.
Wow.
Awesome.
So it just helps you through so many things to improve your quality of life.
Wow.
Awesome.
Ed, you're going to share, we'll make that our closing story, and then what you see the outlook of this company. But what was that story you were going to share about Virtus?
Well, let me just say this first. Somebody put in the chat, they liked your shirt and they want to know where to get one. So
Go ask Ed
Ed
Wiens.
here's a website, and somebody maybe can type this into the chat here. It's redoxswag.net, REDOX swag.net. They have a whole array of different things, shirts, hats, whatever that you can order. And redoxswag.net, great company, and you'll like some of this stuff. Wear the brand. There's the theme is wear the brand. And
Yeah, good quality, by the way. I love it. I
Yeah.
got a couple of things, and I really do like it.
It's Virtus Norton's favorite brand.
that brand's, that's Virtus's favorite brand that you're wearing there.
What, mean the Asea?
No, the
brand
shirt,
of
the
shirt.
brand of shirt. Yeah, the brand.
Really?
Both. Yeah. So I'll just say the story briefly, and we'll wrap it up. I kind of sort of unveiled the story when I was in the Philippines recently because it kind of fit, I think, while I was there. I was on a church missions project, and I was in Vietnam in 1992, and it was still pretty primitive then. The embargo had not been lifted, so there wasn't a lot of investment. A lot of things have happened in Vietnam since then. But I was the photographer for our team, so I had a bunch of camera gear, draped around my neck, and of course this is pre-digital era. And one evening, I had a whole bunch of candy in my pockets. I was across from the hotel. I was in a park, and I was handing out candy. Well, when you got candy and there's kids around, it's like a magnet. And so I was, kids were just coming around. I was taking pictures of them. And this young lady came out from the side, and she walked up to me and surprised me. And she had a little infant child in her hands. And she thrust this baby into my chest, and she said, "Take my baby," and she let go of it. And I caught the baby, of course, just to keep it from falling to the ground. And she took off running off into the park.
Oh my God.
And I knew what she was saying. She was saying, if you could possibly take my baby, it'll have a much better life than I can ever give it here. And it was obviously an emotional thing for her to literally give her baby away. Well, I knew I couldn't take her baby. I would love to have taken the baby. And so I had to kind of gather all my camera gear and not drop the baby, and took off running through the park until I caught up to her, and she was crying. And I said, "I can't take your baby," and I handed it back to her. And then I cried my way back to my hotel. And but that was a really an indelible experience for me. And that experience kind of came rushing back to my mind the first time I was at my first Asea convention, when Virtus finished his speech. And he said that quote that we often see at the end of our presentations: "We're at the start of something big, and now's the time we can change the world." And it's a powerful conclusion to his speech. But what he said after that is he stepped to the side and he came to the edge of the podium, and he said, "Take this company where it needs to go." And he gestured like this to the audience: "Take this company where it needs to go." And the mental image that I had at that moment was that young lady saying, "Take my baby, because you can take it places that I can't take it." And I felt Virtus saying that same thing to the audience, but it was to me. And I literally stuck my hands out, and I took the hand off. I took the baby, and I felt him saying, here's a guy that's, nearing 80 years old. I think he's there now, saying, I've birthed this thing, and I'm entrusting you. I'm asking you to take this baby where it needs to go. And so I bought into that mission. And the reason why I was able to tell the folks in the Philippines Singapore recently, Thailand. Reason why I'm here is because I'm helping take this company where it needs to go, and it needs to go to the Philippines, to Mexico, to wherever else we may go from here. And so that's kind of just a personal application to a story that happened to me nearly 30 years ago that connects to the mission that I feel that we all have a chance to be a part of here. So if you're listening to this, you know people that we don't know, and you have places you can take this that we can't take it to. But I'm asking you just to buy into Bertus's his request, his mandate to help this take this baby and take this company where it needs to go, because it needs to go everywhere. And some of you right now you're living places that we're not even open for business, and you're taking product there, and I commend you for that. But we need you. I'm a missionary. I think of it in terms of missions. We need some more missionaries. If you're an athlete, we need some more players. If you're a musician, we need some more participants in the orchestra. We need you, because you know people that we don't know, and you can go places that we're never going to get to. Together, we'll take this baby where it needs to go. That's the story.
Awesome. Well, this
You
is
know,
great.
it's a very humbling thought, and I know it is for you guys to, Danny Doyle, Mal, the lives that you have changed, saved, and the financial freedom that you've given to people.
Like Paula Logus.
Yeah, Paula, we adore her.
Yeah.
And see, here's the lesson. I knew Paula. I didn't know Dr. Michael, but Paula shared this with a gal in her quilting club whose daughter went to high school with Dr. Michael's daughter. Dr. Michael's daughter puts out this desperate plea on Facebook for prayer, for help for her son, Dr. Michael's grandson. The fellow student reaches out and says, my mom is using this great product, and as a result of that, now I didn't know Danny. I knew Bart Cotter. I reached out to Bart. Bart knew Danny. So the message for you tonight is that you know who you know, but you don't know who they know.
Right.
You don't know who they know. You don't know where this will go. So just begin to share this good news, and you'll find the ripple effect of this. Paula, mid-70s, and just the number on her 1099 this last year in her mid-70s is more money, and she lives in a town of less than 300 people. But because she's told people who are telling others, they earn more in their mid-70s than any year in her entire career of teaching.
That's awesome.
What that's meant to them, just in terms of impact and freedom of stress, it's just, we could tell you those kind of stories. So thank you for the chance to be with you tonight and talk to the folks. We appreciate it very much.
Wonderful.
I've always liked you two. We rode with you that time out in Spokane. Never did thank you for that ride, by the way. So
hey, I've been losing sleep nights waiting for that. So.
But guys,
days we're going to all be able to get together again physically. I'm sorry the events have been canceled. I tell you personally, we have an event planned here in North Carolina the end of June in Pinehurst. We've got some great speakers lined up. I think that's going to be our coming out party. So if you're anywhere near where you can get to Pinehurst, North Carolina, the end of June, stay tuned. Everything's going to be relaxed by then. We're going to have an unbelievable event. Some pieces are coming together. I can't even tell you right now, but it's going to be one of the best Asea weekends you could possibly spend. Will be in North Carolina the end of June.
Awesome.
Well, and we're going to kick it off tomorrow.
Yeah, big one tomorrow.
At 12 our Central Time, 1 o'clock your time for 2 hours.
Yep.
And on this same channel, discoverasea.com.
Yep.
We will have top leaders. Are you guys on that show?
Yeah, we are. We're calling that instead of a Super Saturday, it's going to be a Zoom per Saturday.
Zoom per
Saturday. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, whatever that is in your time zone, join the same call. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers tomorrow. Just boom, 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 boom. It's going to flow about 2 hours. It's going to flow very quickly. So we would love to have you join us.
You bet. And just real quick, guys, next Friday, we've got Dr. Maureen Hayes, Dr. Lee Osler, and Dr. Bill Williams. And you're not going to want to miss that call either, because we're going to be talking about a Plan B income, and we're going to be talking about what these molecules do. So get all your people on these shows. every Friday. Then also every day during the week, we have my time zone, noon and 8, every day of the week, except for Tuesday, not in the evening. So we've got these for you to share these amazing molecules, and let's go change the world.
All right.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
you.
Everybody, stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.